Poker TV, and this is my front room, and let's look at some theory today. So first of all, I just want to say please send in your videos of you playing online. Next week I'm hoping to have someone do some commentary over their playing, so we can hear what they're thinking as they play and see if they're along the right wavelengths. Because they might be doing the right things but for the wrong reasons, so that'd be really interesting to put a spin on. So let's start off with concept of the week. Actually, before I go into that, just while waiting for some people to catch up for the viewers, I was playing some cash game today in London, and I think I might have been angle shot in the game. This really weird thing happened. Basically, I had quads on the river in a hand, and I checked because I thought my opponent had made a straight in this hand, thinking they would bet the river themselves when I checked to them, and they slapped their hand down on the table. They waited a few seconds and slapped the hand down like that, like palm down, and when they lifted their hand up off the felt, they had a chip on the table. So it was like palmed in their hand, and then they popped it down like that, yeah? But I thought they just checked, right? So as soon as they slapped their hand down, I opened my hand. Now, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, because, I mean, I have to raise if I have the nuts. It was the nuts on that board, and obviously I'm not gonna not raise there. But the guy called the floor on me, saying, like, that's soft play. I was like, you just hid your chips when you bet them. Like, the chips are red and the felt is black. There's no way I would have missed it. So yeah, that was really weird. I'm not sure how that happened or what was going on. But yeah, so I managed to check the nuts on the river and cool. So that was weird. Actually, something similar happened to that in Vegas as well, but maybe that's for another time. So for this week, we're going to look at stack to pot ratios. I'm just make sure the chat's up and working. Yes, there we go. So stack to pot ratios. So also known as SPRs. So when we're deciding to play a hand in a pot that has already been raised, we need to ask ourselves these questions. So what range does the opener have? Is it loose or tight? If we do raise, what range will the opener continue with? So even if they're opening up a loose range, are they only considering with really tight hands? I mean, say middle position is opened and you look down at ace jack off, you can be pretty sure you're ahead of their range most of the time, and you might think you should raise there, but you need to think what they're going to continue with, because if they're only going to continue with ace king and ace queen, then maybe there's another play you could do, or yeah, just start thinking about like that. Or the most common one I see, especially in live games, is if you have pocket tens and you get your tens and people are like, oh, this is a raising hand, just think about what they're going to call you with. Are they going to call you more with jacks and queens, or maybe even raise you? Or are they going to call you with eights and nines? So just make sure it's a value raise before you do it. If we decide to flat, how will the players left to act react? So the reason this question's in there is if we have really aggressive people who are playing behind us, so if we're in middle position and we flatted early position, does the button and cut off, are they raising quite a lot in those positions? Are the blinds re-raising and squeezing a lot? So you need to consider that too. Maybe it's better to raise some hands that you would normally flat just for that reason, like some pocket pairs. If you want them to fold, how often do you think they are going to fold? How will we react to a 4-bet? If they're going to 4-bet us, are we going to 5-bet shove? Are we going to flirt over that? So something else to consider there. And probably most importantly, especially for the SPR, is what is our relative stack sizes. So if we can get the pot heads up, and we will be happy to play our hand for 3 streets of value against our opponent, we should aim to get 10% of their stack in before the flop, as this will allow us to bet around half pot on FTR, that's flop, turn, river, to get them all in. Okay? So if we... When I say 3 streets of value against an opponent, obviously we're not going to know if we have a 3 streets of value hand until we see the flop. 3 streets of value with ace king on, if the flop is 8, 9, 10, and you have none of that suit, for example, is not one way you're going to play 3 streets of value. I'm saying when we hit our hands and we're going to play 3 streets of value, that's what we need to be thinking when we're raising ace king and aces and kings, hands like that. So if we get in 10% of their stack, then we're already getting them on the way to being committed by simply betting half pot. And then it's not so big that it's going to scare them off or really tighten their range up to nutted hands. You can keep them in with weaker hands by doing that. So for example, if our opponent has 300 and they open for 10 and we decide to make it 30, that's like normal 3-bet size, and then bet roughly half pot on the flop, that would be 35 into 63 because of the blinds. The turn would be 70 into 133, and then the pot will be 273 on the river, leaving them with 165, which is an excellent river bet size to have left. Because if the opponent has top pair in this scenario with a good kicker, or maybe even the ace kicker, they're going to have a really tough time getting away from that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. This is the plan before the hand even begins. Try and get in 10% of their stack. Now, if your opponent is shorter stacked, or you think they'll call a very large free bet, then we can get our opponent all in on the turn, and that's if we get in 20% of their stack. Remember when I went through the ace king, how to play ace king for fold equity in one of the other videos? I was looking at getting a third of their stack in, and that leaves 1 pot size bet on the flop to shove. Well, if we get in 20% of their stack and bet half pot on the flop, then we can jam on the turn and the bet size won't be too big. So yeah, if you think you can do that, then and get it over 2 streets, then this is another option for you, and that would be the 20%. So in this example, our opponent has 200, they open to 12, we free bet to 40, and then we can bet 45 into 83 on the flop and put them all in on the turn for 115. So we need to remember this 10% and 20% rule when choosing free bet size in pre-flop. With experience, you'll be able to calculate this easier with varying bet sizes and stack sizes. This is also applicable to tournaments too. Now, sometimes you might be deep stacked. I mean, if you double up in the cash game and you're deep stacked and your opponent's done the same and they're deep stacked, you can't really start free betting to get in 10% of the effective stacks, because it will just be too big and they're just going to continue with basically aces, maybe kings. So poker's a game of balancing conflicting interests, and it's your job to make sure you make the best decision at all times. So as mentioned before in the ace king video, if we get a third of our opponent's stack in pre-flop, it leaves 1 pot size shove for the flop. So if you wanted to work out how you can commit your opponent, look at the pot size on the flop and your opponent's stack, or the effective stack I should say. Is it 5 times the pot size? If so, you can bet half pot on each street and get them committed. So that's like a rule of thumb you can use. Rarely free bet 10% of effective stacks. Take care when deep and out of position. Think more about flatting hands when you're deep, especially in position, And if you are going to free bet, do make it bigger to price them out, because that's one of the toughest situations in poker, being deep and out of position. Multi-way pots are more complicated, and you'll get a feel for the right bet size on each street with practice. So a little bit about free bet bluffing. Before we even decide to free bet bluff, we need to be confident our opponent is capable of folding, which is rare in the live arena anyway. If we do decide to free bet or squeeze light, we need to choose a hand like a suited connector, a suited gapper, suited aces maybe, and small pocket pairs. Now those last two in that category are more for if you flat, you think someone's definitely going to squeeze behind, so maybe you should do the squeeze yourself, as otherwise you're just putting in money dead that you can't call. Also the suited aces and small pocket pairs, I put in BVB, so that would be in blind v blind situations, or blind v button situations, where it may be difficult to play if you don't free bet them, or you need to take the initiative. So the small pocket pairs like 2s to 5s and 6s, if you have them in the blinds and the buttons raised, I usually prefer free betting those, because when you flat them, it's really difficult to win the pot, as they're going to flop like 4th pair and 2nd pair, 3rd pair, so much. Even if you do hit your set against the button, their range is going to be so wide that they're probably just bet folding the flop a lot of the time. So when you go for that check raise, or you think it's going to be better to donk out on them, they're not going to continue and they're just going to fold. So it's not really the ideal time to set mine there. If we're fully expecting our opponent to fold to our free bet, and they do continue and call us, we need to proceed with extreme caution, because that free bet will be profitable immediately. Yeah, you don't have to start putting money in past the flop unless you flop really big, and that's why the suited gappers and suited connectors are good, because they are excellent plan B hands to have. You might get lucky and flop well about 5% at a time anyway, or 1 in 20. If we know our opponent is free betting us with a wide range, we always have the option to 4-bet bluff them. Each spot is unique versus different opponents and game dynamics, so you need to choose the spot carefully and really think whether calling would be more profitable with the hand you have against their free betting range, and especially if you have position. The situation is most important when deciding to 4-bet bluff. The situation is most important when deciding 4-bet bluff. However, if we hold an ace or king in our own hand, we block them having that particular pair. So technically we can 4-bet with a higher frequency. Now, there's a bit of confliction there, because I prefer to 4-bet with suited connectors a bit more, like a 7-8 and 8-9, a 10-jack, jack-queen even, those sorts of hands, because you're not dominated when you do that. However, technically, you should be 4-betting when you have an ace in your hand, because it strongly reduces the chance that they have aces. Never 4-bet an amount that allows our opponent to peel the flop by betting too small. We're trying to elicit folds and not see flops. Alright, so usually if everyone's 100 big blinds deep, you want to be 4-betting about 2.5 to 3 times whatever the free better bet. So 25% of your stack should be the maximum you should raise, because if you raise more than 25% of your stack, you do have to call it off when they jam on you. So yeah, don't commit yourself. Be really careful with their stack size and knowing what they have before you do the 4-bet bluff. And there's not going to be too many great spots to do it. One time that it can work really well is, say the button's opened and the small blind is super aggressive. He's been free betting a lot. He knows the button's opening wide. he knows he's going to free bet, he can see the buttons folding a lot to these raises, that would be a good time to 4-bet bluff there with an ace blocker. Because they're unlikely to continue, you're very unlikely to see a flop, and you block the ace. So, yeah, something to think about there. Okay, so let's go on to the video we got sent in today. If you've got any questions about SPR or about anything I've gone through today, just put it in the chat. And let's see what's going on with the usurper. So I think this video is about 12 minutes or so. So that should be some good content for us to go through. So our hero is playing 10-25 on Party Poker. And it's Zoom as well. Now, with this hand, unless you have a pretty strong read that these guys are going to be folding too often, then I don't think it's an open. However, it's pretty close. I think Queen 8 suited, just because it can make a straight, is way better than this hand. This might be too loose because you'd be opening too many hands from the cutoff, and you're going to get free bet from the button a lot on these sorts of games. And called a lot. I just think we can wait for a better spot there. I wouldn't bet this flop because I'd assume that these players are going to be playing high card combos. Hands like 10-Jack, hands like Jack-Queen, especially because they didn't free bet us pre-flop. And there will be some pocket pairs in there too, so I wouldn't bet this board. We'll check back. Looks like he's done the same. That's great. So kings come on the turn. I wouldn't mind a bet here actually. Something like 40% of the pot would be good. And we're betting every river. We're just basically trying to get a 7 to fold, or maybe something like a Jack-9 that's going to peel once. Yeah, so actually we've hit a 4, so let me just think. Now we were definitely going to bet the river to make him fold, but I mean we're beating things like Jack-9 here. If he's floated us with ace high, if he's got flush draw, I don't think he's going to have a heart flush draw very often, because he probably would have led the turn, but maybe pairing the board stopped that. So we're beating that anyway, so I would check here. Change of plan. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so it would be really good to hear what was going through their head. So I think next week we are going to have audio commentary to go along with this, so I can, you know, hear why they bet that and why they did this, and maybe they did check back because they hit a pair on the river, or maybe they were giving up thinking, oh, this person's got a 10. So it would be nice to hear what they were thinking. A7's an okay raise there as well. Yeah, probably do this about half the time. I think that's fine. Again, this board's very connected. I expect this to hit our opponent's range a lot. I would not bet this unless I knew they were folding a lot. This board's too wet. Wet as in connected and drawy, and in general it's going to hit their range. So I think a check back to start with would be good. Okay, they've checked again, so here I would start betting and go for about 40%, 35-40% of the pot. And hopefully hit an ace on the river. So it looks like our hero's going to check down his hand, thinking this ace high is good, which it might be, and hopefully they don't have something like 6s or 7s. Let me just think. So what would he be value betting here? I don't think he's going to have many 4s because What would he have? Ace 4 suited? I think a lot of people free bet those from the blinds, whether that's a mistake or not. Would he check a jack on the turn? This might be a call actually, he's bet pretty small. I wouldn't mind a call here. See what he's got. It'd be a really great bet if he's got 8-9. Oh yeah, it's 9-7. Yeah. I don't mind his play there. And was a good call. I mean, both players play there. So again, this might be one of those situations where if people are being aggressive behind us, maybe we should be free betting this. Without the stats, it's hard to know what's how they're going to react to it. It's also pretty hard to pick up reads unless you play a massive pot with someone on Zoom, because the players keep changing around in all the seats. There's about 150 people in the pool at a time, so you really need to have you need to be switched on if you're going to be doing this without any stats. I think flatting it's okay. I think free betting it's not that great. I think folding it's okay. If I was on the bottom, I might be more inclined to call. So when check 2 on here, I think this is good actually, about half pot. And I definitely continue with a heart. Might be good if we hit the ace. The only thing is they've opened from under the gun, and sometimes they do check call with ace king and ace queen, things like that. Well, if they're check calling, the other hands they might have is 9s, 10s. Very weak jacks, 10 jack suited. So we opened this hand last time from the cutoff. So it looks like we're being consistent here, that's good. So he's coming with a plan of what he's going to play. The guy's pretty deep. I hope you can see the pot size and bet size is okay. I think it's just about right. It's really weird when I'm playing Zoom. It seems like every hand I'm getting aces and kings. Like every hand's a top 10 hand. I do play 4 tables usually though, so yeah, you would get those quite a lot. So you get, what is it, roughly once every 200 hands, 220 hands. So 4 tables every 60. Yeah, you burn through 60 hands pretty quick on Zoom. This raise size, I think we can make it a little bigger from under the gun, because we're going to be opening a stronger range. About 80 would be good, I reckon. On that note, if you're playing live cash poker and it's a full table, the games usually get to the flop regardless of your raise size, with 3 or 4 players usually, sometimes more, sometimes 5 players. So I used to make it 12 when I was opening in 1-2 games under the gun, but I've actually changed that to 7 because I believe my opponent's calling range is inelastic. I mean, they know what hands they're calling with, and whether I make it 7, 10, 12, 8 or anything in between, they're just going to call with their calling hands. It doesn't matter. If I was to make it like 17, then they might think twice about calling with hands like 5-6 suited and 6-7 suited, and hands like king jack off. But otherwise, I think you do have to make it really big to break through that inelastic range. So I usually go for a smaller bet. Now, even though my range is stronger when I'm opening under the gun, I'm not going to be bluffing into 4 or 5 people. So I've just lost an extra £5 than if I made it £7. So yeah, I've changed that recently. Funnily enough, in later positions, when it becomes like a 6-max game really, so after the 3 people have folded, I might start making it a bit more. So especially if I think I can get the pot heads up against a weaker opponent and I'm in position, I'll probably go ahead and make it 10. That would be like my 5 out of 5. This is a good spot raise. And if it was, if I was expecting calls from a weaker player, and I might get a call on the button, but I'm still more likely to get the pot heads up against the weak player in the blinds, I might make it 8, because that'd be like a 3.5 out of 5 situation. If I've noticed people are calling whatever I raise and I've got a good hand, I'll make it 15. If I'm doing it with a pocket pair, I'll make it 8. I don't think they're going to notice if they're as bad as I'm assuming they are from what I've seen. Yeah. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Looks like we're gonna call this hand now. It's gonna be very difficult to win this hand out of position against under the gun range and this flatting range here. So I think we should just save our money and fold this. Hands I might call with there would be might just be pocket pairs actually. I think I'd even prefer free betting this than flatting it. And I'm not going to like free betting that hand very much, so yeah, I probably would just fold that. If you've got any hand histories or anything that you've played today or this week, or one that's stuck in your mind over the last few months, just pop it in the chat. I might get a chance to look at it later. This open is okay. Yeah, I'd open that some of the time. And I really like this bet on the flop. I don't think we're going to win it otherwise. So I think it's good. There aren't many good barreling cards, so I think this is a one and done situation. So this is now a fold. Now, if our opponent is pretty competent, then he will have noticed that this is a really dry board. So we are going to be continuation betting it a very significant amount of the time. Now, if they know that we're going to be betting this with everything, then they should be raising us. And now we can get into a situation where they're raising us because of the board, not because of their hand, and then potentially we can make the third bet on this flop. Because, I mean, there aren't any 2-pair combinations really I think he can have. But he makes it so small that it looks like he just wants us to call. So, yeah, he may have this board completely locked up. I feel like sometimes it would be better to flat there if we had hands like a set. Maybe 2 pairs would be raises, but I would never make it this size. The size is confusing me. I think usually they'd make it something like 2, 170, 180. So that's a bit weird. I mean, obviously we're done with the hand here. We can't do anything about that. There was that famous hand with Phil Ivey and I think his name was Paul Jackson, where I believe it's a double paired board or a paired board, and they just raise each other. I think like 5 or 6 bets goes in and they both have nothing, just because they know that they know when they bet it, they're not going to have it, so they raise, and then all this guy's, why is he raising me if he's flopped trips here? Doesn't make sense, and then re-raise back. You can see how it can escalate. This is really well played today. Been paying attention, usurper. Could make it a tiny bit smaller when we're raising on the button, even 0.55. I mean, if that's any advice I can give to you at the moment, then you know you're not making too many mistakes. Yeah, reduce your bet size by 4%. This is an interesting hand. Okay, just before we see what hero does, should be raised. This blue meth player, if the button opened, I think we should be free betting this rather than calling it. Now our hand is strong, but it's not really strong. But the reason we'd be free betting it is so we don't get squeezed by the big blind, which seems to happen a lot when you flatten the small blind. Now, I'd be more inclined to flat things like pocket pairs there. I very rarely flat these sorts of hands in the small blind with the big blind left to act, unless the big blind's a really weak player and will just call all the time trying to hit flops and very, very rarely squeeze. And we want to let them in the pot. We're going to be making the money off them. So the button, say for example in this hand, the button's going to open like any ace or any king maybe on the button. We flat with this jack queen, and then this player flats with 100% of hands because they're playing every pot. We're going to flop, when we do flop a pair, we're going to be donking out in this spot because it's multi-way, so I'm more inclined to donk there. Donk means just leading out, by the way. And we get value from this player, who's going to be flatting too many hands. And also the button should realise that if this player is weak, then we're not going to be bluffing much. So he's going to fold, and he might even fold like bottom pair and stuff there. Do not think a shove's the right bet. So this is interesting too. When it's small blind v big blind, I'd prefer to have reads on the opponent, but actually I think this is the guy who opened under the gun when we were deciding to free bet earlier. Maybe I did remember him. So we can make it like 4x or 3.5x times the big blind to try and get them to just fold and get the hand over with, which I think is a pretty good strategy. If we think they're going to be just calling a lot, then we may as well make it a bit smaller because we're going to be seeing a lot of flops and we just lose more money when we don't continue on those boards. So if they're free betting a lot, I prefer a smaller raise as well. If we get free bet here, it would suck, by the way. And I don't really think we can do anything much here. I'd much rather 4-bet bluff this hand than flat with it. It's going to be so difficult to win this hand out of position. If we're in position, it's fine, I'd call it. Especially 100 big blinds deep. Deeper the better. But, I mean, so the 4-bet would be 650, about 625. Yeah, I think 4-betting that in that exact spot would be better. I mean, you have to know the opponent, really, don't you? I think this blue meth player is going to be playing a lot of He might have like even 4 tables running on this, because he's popping up like every hand. Okay, this is good. So ace-10 in the big. I like the defend. Again, if we're in the small blind here, free betting it might be better, because we don't want to get squeezed by the big blind. I think I'd definitely do it if it's ace-10 suited. Ace-10's a bit borderline. Ace-jack definitely free bet. So yeah, I would check the flop because I don't donk heads up. And ace-10, no heart. Yeah, so this is a pretty easy check call. Don't see any other option there. Okay, and then I would check again. And I'm hoping he bets like half pot here, so I can be like, yeah, I'm probably still good. When he checks this, we should be betting the river. So just say, for example, he's got king, queen, or ace, king here, and he's opened the cutoff, he's bet the flop, which you probably shouldn't do with those hands, but anyway, unless it's, well, ace, king, or hearts. He's bet the flop, check the turn, and then we've got unlucky because he's hit his king on the river, right? If we check, he's probably going to bet like 70% of the pot, right? We have the second pair and the best kicker. If he's got jack 10, jack queen, he's not going to be betting it as often as he would a king. So if we lead in this spot, if we bet like 60% of the pot, we'll definitely get called by those hands. So he'll call us with like queen 10, for example, here. We get value from that, and he wouldn't bet it. And also by betting, he's not really going to raise us with just the king if we have got unlucky and he's hit the king. So yeah, I quite like leading out here, much more than check and then calling like a free quarter pot size bet. Yeah, so I'll go for 60% here, I reckon. Might even hear I call us with hands like queen 8 or something as well. So split pot, that's fine. If we bet, he was never folding, so it didn't make too much difference in that example. If you haven't logged into Party Poker yet today, make sure you do it, because they are giving away tickets to satellites and live events. So again, this is a spot where I think 4-betting it every time might be a bit too aggressive and too spewy, but I do not like flatting this out of position when we've opened from an earlier position or middle position. Even though the button's free bet, I don't think it's strong enough to continue. So I'm just going to fold this like 80% of the time. I'll fold it, 20% I'll 4-bet. Maybe even more, maybe I'm 90% fold. Even if it was suited, I'd fold that. So it's just too difficult to win. And if we hit, like, do we even want to hit? They're going to be dominating us so much. Yes, we could have saved some money in that hand. But otherwise, that was, yeah, really well played. I think that's the end of the video. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's play some cash. Just need to make sure I get my ticket today. So I left up to show you how it works. So you just go to rewards. I think promotions. Seems to run a little bit slow when I'm streaming. Promotions, and when you log in, it does prompt you to do this straight away. I think you just click yes. A box comes up, just click yes. So I'm already logged in, so it didn't do that. So you have to go to promotions and then opt in here, and then we get a card, number of cards. Click. 220 does still do on sat ticket. So I think I've got quite a few of those ones, but this is all the ones you can win, so yeah, could potentially just bink that one. You don't have to do anything or play anything, you just get one a day. pretty neat. Alright. There's quite a few players at this limit today. Let's do some 5-10 today. I think the HUD's on today as well. Yes. Ah, great. This is a great spot. So, only one thing to do here. Flop the set. Now, I don't expect this dude to be leading out as bluffs very much, so we're going to get value. We can get over 3 streets here. It's flush draw, split draw. Let's just pump up a little bit. 110. Okay, so this was the original raiser, so hopefully he's doing this with hands like 9s, 10s, jacks. He doesn't want a flat because he doesn't want people to see a flush draw. I don't think he's going to have a flush draw very often. I didn't expect that overcall though, so I was going to flat and then bet a third of the pot, but now I'm just going to shove. I mean, we'll run into a flush draw every now and then. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, he had the flush draw, so that's good. I think he had a straight as well. Never mind, brush it off, brush it off. But we were just blessed on the first hand there. Cursed. Cursed. Yeah, so they do like to min-raise you sometimes with hands like over pairs, but sort of weak ones. They want to take charge of the pot and hope you check to them on the turn. So if they're raising, they're usually folding those hands. So what I like to do is get them to raise, and then if they're going to fold to the next raise, you flat it, but then you donk out the turn so that they don't check back, because the only reason they're raising is to check back there. You got 3 220 tickets. I think I got 5 in there. I haven't found the time to bust them all out. Not yet, anyway. You got 3 to the 55 as well. That's pretty wicked. I mean, you do get 1 a day, so there's going to be a lot of people just trying to spin up in those, so probably quite difficult to win. Maybe playing tighter in these ones would be a good idea. Yeah, that's unlucky though. Still worth checking and see if you get a 275 one though. Oh, I haven't ticked auto rebuy, which I usually would, because it's going to bring up some more interesting stack situations when we get to 50 bigs, and I can go through a bit of that theory with you too. There's a lot of people playing at the moment. Yeah, I wonder if they're all mixed, like people playing all different limits. So I've opened 3.5x in under the gun. It's not because I have aces. It's so nice when you get free bet and you have aces. Can confuse you as well, because you're like, should I flat this? You don't want to scare them off, but it's great when a tight player's free betting you, because you know they're going to have, I mean, you block ace king, but you know they're only going to be doing it with ace king, kings and queens, so you definitely just rip it in there. Never slow down if a tight player's free betting you and you got aces. If you know the person's free betting you loads and he's going to fold to 4 bets loads, that might be the time to just flat. Like, if you've seen them just barrel off all their money on every board with every hand. So we're going to open 2.2 on the button. This guy's a bit short stacked here. Also, by not auto-topping up, we might appear to be a weaker player. So that might give us a bit of an advantage. Against this player, I'm going to raise and pretty much give up because he's folding so much. I don't expect him to continue very often. Alright, let's get into this game for the last 15. So, King Jack. I've started forward folding a lot in the small blind. Especially if it's like this and this guy's never going to fold when I raise. Like, if these guys are thinking, I would have just folded that immediately. When you've got one of those sticky players in the big blind, like, even if it folds round, it's going to be a pain to play, so just get rid of it. Yeah, Zoom is a little bit different to the reg tables. So I'll definitely open this. So the more this guy's folding a lot, but he's also free betting a lot. That's the free bet stat here, 14%, and our hand is not good. So that's the reason we're getting rid of it there. Doesn't seem great. We've already had aces and kings. I tell you all the time. And a set. So when I hit that set in that pot and it's 4 ways, I don't expect the original raiser to be betting there as a bluff pretty much ever. So our check raise looks way too strong. It just looks like we have a set, especially when the board's like all lower than 10. We're going to play all the suited broadways from under the gun. Today and every day. Got a note on this guy. If we were in position on one person or there was a weaker player in that pot, I might play that hand. Just think, look at all these folds we can make instead of playing that hand. Just waiting for a good one. I think that's the guy we doubled up earlier. Revenge free bet. This guy is free betting a lot, and I was thinking of opening and then 4 betting, but I think the hand's just a bit too weak to do it with. If we had any suited connector there, I'd do it. Any suited ace. That would be a 4 bet fold, by the way. I like these hands. This guy seems pretty crazy in the big blind. We're going to 4 bet bluff him if he raises. Take it down. Sixes. We're going to break the curse. Breaking the curse of sixes. There we go, it's done. It's that easy. So you win half the time. Would have looked a bit suspicious if I just logged in and stacked 2 people on the first hand there. I do wonder what that other guy flatted his min raise with. That was really weird. He put in a lot. He probably had like a third of his stack in that pot nearly. What would he do that with? He's not folding bottom set there, so maybe he got a bit stubborn with tens and jacks. I just can't think of a hand to do that with. No, there is. The HUDs aren't banned. No, it was a bit of a hassle to get it working on Zoom tables, but I think that was just because of the software was being improved by Party, and the Hold'em manager didn't catch up with it. I didn't think HUDs worked on Zoom at all anywhere, but they do, you can see. I think my last computer was just too slow and wasn't loading it up quick enough. So what do you play on Party, Connor Dude, that Connor Dude? What sort of stakes do you play? Do you like Zoom, the regular tables? I really like the friendly cash tables, they're good. If I'm feeling particularly lazy, I might open like a higher stakes one of those in the background. I do like the dynamics in regular games because you get a feel for the players so much more. You can see if they've lost a few parts, whether they're going to be doing something crazy. This guy is opening and not folding to 3-bets a lot, or he's opening quite a tight range from early. So we're going to be 3-bet stacking this off. If he peels, which I do expect him to do. Oh, he folded. We'd be a bit gun shy on boards with queens and jacks and tens on. Not a queen jack 10 flop, although that would be awful. A flop with that hand on. I do like taking the lead in that. I might bet a little bit smaller. So we're going to isolate this player here. Going to 5x. Folded. He was a little bit short stacked, so we could have gone for 4x and still been able to get all the money in by the river with that 10% rule by betting half pot, half pot, half pot, or whatever you want. Probably going to stream for another 10-15 minutes or so. So if you do have any questions, let me know. No, you're not an idiot. You're not the only one, Connor. Like, I didn't think it even worked on Zoom. That's how bad I was. Do you like that hand? I think from middle position I'd open that in a fast forward game. This guy is free betting a lot from the big blind. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to 4-bet him if he free bets us, because he's free betting really high frequency, which means that he's going to have too many bluffs in his range. So even if we hit our set, he's not going to pay us off. So we're going to 4-bet him. Ah, we didn't want to see that. Can't call that. The logic was there. He is folding to 4-bets, and he was free betting 18%, so he's going to fold there a lot. I mean, usually you don't mind. Don't mind peeling there with a pocket pair because, I mean, you want to hit your set, and it's like, oh, they're free betting me, so they got a good hand, but they don't have a good hand when they're doing it 20%. Guy's never folding. Yeah, the software on I used to think the software on that site was really good, but Party Poker software is like so much better than it was a year ago. You shouldn't really play on the site just because of the software, but that was very important to me. Also, Party have changed so that you got more of a range of stakes, so they got the 25.50 in there, which was being requested. So the cool thing about 2NL is you can just play loads and loads of tables. What was the tournament you were playing? Was that like a 550 or something like that? One of the Powerfest ones? $10 to $50 is not bad if you just started the other week. Not bad at all. Just wish it was like a Zoom 100 and then you can do it. So is the 2NL fast forward, or is that normal games, recreational games, or regular cash tables? The good thing about tournaments is you can just completely bink them and just like 100 times your bankroll for the big one. We're gonna raise this. He is gonna be continuing a lot rather than just folding. Not that time. Jack, I'm JCPoker. I am long-time player in live cash games, and just started doing streams on Party Poker. I usually just play Zoom online now. Nice to meet you. Who are you? What have you been getting up to, Jack? Yeah, the shirt. I even got the Party Poker thing right on the top of the Bomberman bomb. This has all been planned months in advance. Alright, let's just double up. Another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes. Yeah, that's how they get ya. They say it's a soft field, right? Zapdos man, didn't even see the name. Respect for the name. Okay, so we're a little bit shorter. We're gonna go for 90. We're still getting in our 10%, yeah? Let's do it. Max value 93. I do hope this stream's on a bit of a delay. Alright, we're wary because the jack's there. But we're gonna be stacking queens. Oh no. He doesn't have kings because he didn't 4-bet us. We are losing to... We're losing to everything. What are we beating here? King Jack. Ugh. What does he have? He checked us again. We block ace queen. King queen? King queen was a straight draw on the flop. I do not know what he has. Has he got scared? He's got a 10 and the flush has come. King Jack. Oh, he was not calling a bet. That board was horrible. The tourney was flyweight, 750 guaranteed ticket. Oh, quality, yeah. Yeah, they give away loads of free tickets, Connor. Normally paid 2NL. Zoom. Have you tried any of the fast forward games on Party Poker? And oh yeah, so you're playing on that site. Have you tried any of the fast forward games too? And have you played the regular tables? Have you tried playing like 3 regular tables instead of 1 of the fast forward games and seeing how that goes and what the differences are? We're just betting this because it's a dry board. 495. So trying to be a cash player, is that because you're new to poker, or is that because you're moving over from usually playing tournaments? I thought you wrote 2-5 zoom there. But if you need to poker, that's going to be tricky to beat. So NL2, NL5, yeah. Definitely beatable. A lot of mistakes being made in those games, buddy. Gonna open this one. We just want folds really, but King 8's okay because you can flop some medium strength pair. Or the King. We are betting this once because it's a dry board and giving up. $99. I'm trying to be a cash player. 99? 99? I don't understand. We're gonna open smaller here. It looks like we might get free bet, which is annoying. Okay, this guy, he's well, he's only played 9 hands, but it looks like he's been free betting a lot and he's playing a lot of hands, so we're trapping him by checking here, and now we're trapping him by betting a third of the pot and hoping he raises. Guess he just didn't have anything there. So no need to raise it. This is a check call. Oh, is it raise? No, check call, check call. I think a check call is better because if a 10 or an ace comes on the turn, I think he will represent it. He might just check down because of that spade. I think we're just going to win and he's going to check here. I mean, he might have 2s and 3s. I don't think he's turning many hands into a bluff here. Yeah, okay. Was 9-9 you were saying, but we were beating on that board? Yeah, we were beating 9-9. Do you think he called a flop on him with 9-9 on Jack 10-10? Maybe. It was a 10-10 Jack. 10-10 Jack, wasn't it? Because he had King Jack. I find the sit and goes, or the multi-table tournaments in general, they just take so long. I can't just play like 2 of them, 3 of them. I have to have like 4 open at all times. So I'll play at least 1 Zoom like all the time, or one of those recreational games. We're gonna call here with A7. So we've got backdoor flush draw and straight draw. Bet the pot. Let's bet so big. I think he bet. Ah, actually, I think that might be a call there. That was close. Confused by the pot size bet. I noticed that that was that guy's first hand as well. I think people do try and win their first hand. They feel more committed. They're like, this is going to be a good session. I'm going to win this. I'm going to bet the pot. He probably had 2 pair or something. That's a big flop. Alright, so we are going to be betting flop, turn and river. So I'm going to bet 70 here because I know I'm betting the turn, and we just make more money now when he calls the flop and then folds on the turn. This is really interesting because he's ace high flush draw beats us. We do not have a pair. I think we should flat this. I mean, it looks like a massive draw, but if he's got that ace, let's see. So we want a straight really. He can have the sets on this board as well. He may think we just have aces here and bet a bit smaller. So we're definitely not folding. I don't think re-raising him here is gonna... I don't think he's bluffing here with anything. He doesn't have like ace-10, so... Oh, look at that! We've redeemed ourselves. Straight flush. He had 10s. All right. So, yeah, you need to really think about what you're gonna get called by if you just reship that flop. Because I see a lot of people just reship there, and you're gonna get called by the ace high flush, right? If you have a pair there, then I think it's better. And just think about all the sets they can have. 10s and 9s and 2s are definitely in there. I don't think check raising a turn would have accomplished much. The offsuit king would have been probably the best card, but I mean, you don't get many straight flushes, right? So let me see what's going on in the chat. I played a year. You haven't played since a year, and not doing great due to tilt and bad bankroll management. So you're playing too high, I guess. You want to recover losses. Yeah, that could cause tilt. If you play too high games, that can just start you off on the wrong foot as well, because you're thinking, oh, I have to win, and then you might not be as aggressive in spots where you should be because you're scared of losing the hand. And not stop playing until you do. Yeah, that's really good advice. Stop limit and going back to it later and reviewing hands. So if I ever have 2 days in a row where I lose, right, the whole next day I'm like, I'm not playing. I'm just going to be learning strategy the whole day, watching videos, watching Twitch. So, gonna open this. We're gonna be going for 3 streets on good boards here. We're definitely calling this. I feel like he could be just raising us there because it's a dry board. Oh, we were halfway there. Speaking about cooling the river there as well. Alright, so we've got ace queen, I think against that same guy in that last pot. So we're going to be free betting for value here. We're going to go 120, that'll allow us to get him in. I don't think he's going to fold, so we're not going to be bluffing him. If we think he's not going to fold, we're not going to be bluffing him yet. So basically, we know we're going to stack him when we hit an ace or a queen, so we don't need to do anything crazy. So that's fine. I mean, that 120 we put in, we don't need to win the squeeze that often for that to be profitable, and we don't need to start attacking boards and defending when we know we're just going to stack a player like that when we hit, so it's fine. So he's 100 big blinds. Gonna make it 110. Yeah, actually, you had 4 of a kind in live poker and then a straight flush here. That's a pretty lucky day, right? One thing that you both might find really helpful is there's some really good hypnosis videos that really get you in the zone before you play. So that's really good for providing the right set for you to play in, and then you're ready and you know what you're doing. We are going to be opening and 4-betting this. Actually, we might be able to defend this hand against this very wide 3-bet range here, and we're deep. Also another advantage of 3-betting small. So we're definitely going to call here. I was thinking of just 4-bet bluffing, but our hand's actually pretty good, and we're deep. It'd be so beautiful if the jack of clubs comes off. Do we want to... I think we should probably raise this. Make it smaller. This may look like we're just raising with ace king or something. I mean, I'm hoping he has ace king here. No, he's got nothing. Well, his 3-bet range was really wide, so that player was 3-betting 20% of hands, which is... that is massive. That is a lot of hands. So he's just going to be betting and betting once on a lot of boards. If we had that board completely locked up, obviously we just call and let him bluff into us, but there's a lot of Broadway cards that can hit any club if he did happen to have the ace. Jack or Connor, if you want me to, if you want to do some commentary, record yourself playing, just do it for like 10 minutes, like the Usurper did today. Send it in, and I'll be really happy to go through it with you and see if we can block any leaks. Stop the tilt. Do you think you two would be doing the things I'm doing in this game? Does it make sense, the reasons? This player we're going to isolate. We're going to make it 4 because he's only got $4. The downside of doing this is that we may get free bet because people will see that's a weak raise. We're going to bet this once against this player because I don't really see how we're going to win otherwise. The board's a little bit too connected, but I think it's okay. That's why it's really important, Jack, if that you charge them a lot. So when they are going to set mine 100%, you need to like not be min raising with aces. You need to charge them and then bet, and then that's the money you make there. You shouldn't be like, I want to free bet small because if they hit their set, I'm going to fold. Just make it the 10%. but always be wary of what your opponent's calling range is. Just like when I had that Queen Jack earlier, I think that he's not going to fold like ace high flushes there, and he's not going to be raising me with small overpairs on that board with that sizing. Okay, I'm going to play the last few rounds here for the big blind. Fast forward's really weird because you can sit out next big blind, and then I swear I'll play like 10 more hands. Yeah, poker after dark's pretty good, isn't it? I really like the high stakes cash. I'm sort of glad I'm not in that game. I mean, I'd love to play in it, but not with my own money. Feel like I have to talk really quick through it because when I'm thinking of the reasons, because I'm playing the game, reading the chat, and the timer isn't very long on fast forward, so you got to be like, ah. But it probably helps because I usually play quite a few tables of fast forward, so the chat box is like the equivalent of my third table. Alright, so if you do have anything you would like me to look over next week, make a video, send it in, do the commentary, and if there's any concepts you want me to look at for next week, just send that in too. So we may be looking at c-betting next week. I need to just have a think about what would be a good concept that would help the most people with. Oh, your dad plays too, that's cool. Yeah. The thing is, if you find yourself getting tilted, then sometimes it's better to just be like, oh, I know that I'm a bit tilted, but I'm just going to keep my composure for another 10 minutes. And then you get through that, and that makes your like tilt muscle stronger because you've pushed through it. Whereas if you feel like you've lost the hand, you got tilted, and you're like, right, I'm going home, or I'm logging off, then you're letting it win. If you're trying to beat it, you need to learn to gently ease into it a bit and live with going through those stages. And like I said, the hypnosis stuff's really good for that. Connor and Jack, thank you so much for your comments during the video. Yeah, every Tuesday I'm on. It's meant to be sort of 9:30, but sometimes I try and start at 9, like tonight, and then it just started at 9:30 anyway. So it will usually be around that time. The past videos are still on there, and if you search Joey Craig Poker on YouTube, you'll be able to bring up the videos that have been dropped off Twitch. So I think there's 4 or 5 in total that you'll find, and there should be about 3 on Twitch still at the moment. Yeah, Equilab's really good to like reviewing the hands after you have a losing session is just the best way to, pretty much the best way to get through tilt, because you haven't quit poker, you're still thinking about it, you've looked at it, and you've done something to improve. So even if I have that day when I lose 2 in a row and I'm like, don't like losing 2 days in a row, is it me that's playing bad, am I getting unlucky, review the sessions, and then you're like, no, it's fine, you come in the next day really strong. Have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you all next Tuesday, and send in those videos, all of you. Thanks guys.